I don't know. I think we should go ahead. It's 6:32.
Yeah, me too.
Okay,
Okay, hold on. The video's getting ready still.
okay. I'll admit everybody, and you tell me when the video is ready to go.
Okay.
Hey, look at all these.
Okay, it's going.
Just wait till everybody's logged on.
Here's Tim. He's muted, but
Still a few people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we get started. And the recording, I don't see. Yep, recording's working. Okay, good evening, Hammond North. It is December 10th at 6:34 p.m. Obviously, it's not going to be a shorter meeting as originally planned, given the news about venture, and that'll be we're going to wait and hopefully get rid of all the other business and move on to the main business of the venture and what we're going to do about that. So the call to order, Randy Vaughn,
Here.
Dan Welch,
here.
Chris Conti,
Here.
Tom Deeds,
Here.
Tracy Smiley,
Yeah.
Tim Fritz. Okay. All right, first item of business, Randy, minutes.
Yes, I move that we approve the minutes of November 9th, the regular meeting of November 19th and the special meeting of December 7th. And again, those were sent to you in the last few days. And I ask for approval of those.
Second.
Chris seconds it. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor, please raise their hand. Okay, that's unanimous. All right, Tracy, the announcement of the unanimous consent motion that we did previously.
Are you talking about for the invoices, John?
Right, the invoice, the Finney invoices.
Yeah. All right, so we had a unanimous consent motion to pay Finney invoices. One of the invoice number 46121 in the amount of $7,281.50. Another invoice for invoice 46122 in the amount of $1,516.50. Invoice number 46123 in the amount of $88. Invoice number 46124 in the amount of $22,118.92. And invoice number 46125 in the amount of $5,590. That is invoice totaling for Finney $36,594.92.
Okay, thank you.
I will note
that
the
is,
majority. One second, I will note the majority of that 36,000, 22,000 of it was due to the partition action.
correct. All right, so the main next topic is a venture contract. I'll have a statement, which is basically we were very disappointed to say the least that venture pulled out the last minute. We've been working on the contract. We had signed the contract, but it wasn't until 3 days later, 4 days later, that we actually heard that they weren't pursuing it anymore. We're still talking to Jordan Dickman, trying to find out exactly what happened. He has no idea at this point, really, except that they had other business that they, as we reported, we quoted in the one call from his letter that they had other businesses they were involved with, and they decided that they were proceeding with, and therefore they decided to not pursue this one. But however, it's strange that when they made the choices to do other businesses, that they didn't give Jordan or us a heads up of what was going on. Where we go from now, barely 48 hours from when we got the email from Jordan that they were pulling out, Venture was pulling out, is the 9 other people who had were potential buyers on the list that Jordan had. Some of them had gone through due diligence period and did further investigation for last and final offer and reach out to them. I had a conversation today with Mike Stacy about him, and he is gonna send us paperwork for another offer from his. And we're pursuing any other options. Up until Monday rather, I was of the opinion that we didn't have to push very hard, let me say, a petition. We were going through the steps, but it wasn't an urgent matter. I think that has changed now. I don't know if there's any way that we can speed it up, but it's our obligation, our duty to be in regular contact with Julie and make sure what the obstacles are and petition. We've done some of that along the way over the last month with signatures of addresses of owners. So the documents could be delivered because the case could not proceed until the petition action was delivered to all owners. Obviously, this also extends any kind of timeline for when we can sell the building, and that raises the question clearly of fees. Board hasn't met yet, but clearly we have to look at anything we can do to reduce the fees that everyone is still obligated to pay. And we need to see in general how we can reduce the cost and the burden to the association and the owners. So that is basically what I want to say. I don't know if any of the other board members have any comments they want to make.
Yeah, I would like to make a comment. This came as a shock to everyone to receive that terrible news. I will say that if we as an ownership want to move forward with these other offers, we definitely need to show that we are serious, right? So they did talk about other opportunities that they had. However, the opportunity to buy the Hammond can be more solid, right? The solid part that I'm talking about is getting the other 6 votes. If we had those votes, we could expedite the closing portion of this contract where we'd have been further along, not just with Venture, but with any other entities that are looking to buy the building. It is really imperative that we look serious and we get serious for these other 6 owners who you guys may know who have not signed the consent to sell. The last thing we want to do is get another buyer and the same thing happens because we don't look serious. We don't look unified. So I would suggest if anyone knows the other individuals who have not voted, that we need to get this cleaned up. We need to be able to provide clear deeds to the properties. And that is a major sticking point for our investors and our buyers because they want a clean process. They know that there are other things that they would have to wait on and go through with this offer for Hammond North, but we need to take away some of those hurdles by getting serious about our us wanting to sell this building. So I'm just throwing it out there. So we received several comments about what so and so didn't do, what happened, though, and they may have had other opportunities, but we really need to take a look at what we're doing to see if we can expedite this process next go around.
Thank you, Tracy.
I think one of the things that we have to stress is that in Jordan's letter to us, he didn't specifically say it, but he basically hinted at the fact that Venture is pursuing what they consider to be easier deals to do. So anything we can do to make this deal easier, we have to do right away.
And there are comments I want to address, like chats in the message regarding lawyers. Our lawyers and their lawyers were due diligent and completed a lot of this process. So this was truly a decision from Venture that they made the decision to back out, not related to any legal reasons or lack of documents or lack of processing. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know, some people want to say blame the lawyers for things they didn't do, but that was not at all the case here. We need to take a look at ourselves and make sure we're in a good standing to be able to execute this sale.
Any other comments from board members? Jan?
There's a question.
I'll have a few more comments about that in my report.
Okay.
There's a
Tim?
question. There's a question in chat that I would like to address. It says, for the people who have not signed and are in arrears, why is foreclosure not being pursued? And the problem is that you can't pursue foreclosure against some and not others. You have to make it a total deal. So you can't pick and choose who you're going to foreclose on. You would have to, if you decide to foreclose, then you have to foreclose on everybody who is in arrears.
Randy?
And if I can also add to what Tim just said, about half of the people who haven't signed are current in their dues, so that we would have no way to foreclose on them. So, yeah, it wouldn't solve any problems as far as selling the building to foreclose on anybody.
Anything else well, any owners want to comment? You want to raise your hands?
Mike Stacy raised his hand.
Okay. Mike, can somebody unmute Mike?
He raises.
It's not his electronic hand.
He raised his hand physically.
Okay, I'll look for you. Hold on, Mike. I'm coming.
Yeah, it's best if people raise the electronic hand because there are 3 screens of participants. And so that's the way, once you raise the electronic hand, you come to the first screen and we see it and we can then unmute you.
So I hit the ask to unmute. Mike, can you?
Mike can't unmute himself. Randy has to do that.
Yeah, and I'm looking for him.
I thought I did it, but I don't
See
know.
him on the bottom of the first page.
Bottom there. No.
Well, I'll tell you what,
There
in the
he is.
meantime,
I got you, Mike. I got him. Okay, you can unmute
There-
now, Mike. There you go.
There you go. Thank you. So, no more, guys. There's things less than 50 minutes.
Mike, your volume's going in and out. If you could get a little bit closer to your mic.
I think it might be a reception problem.
It might be. Is that better?
Not
Why don't
much.
you try it?
Okay, well,
That's good.
anyway, I am very interested in purchasing the building, and I think this is a good place I told you from the beginning we had to work together. So what we need to do is we need to work together. I am willing to buy the building. I've offered 13.5. Offered 15, then we went to 13.5. Don't have the ability to keep the people in the building anymore. So we'll work on that. But anyway, you will get an offer in the morning for 13.5 and work these things out. But what I need is the 5 people to sign the letter or meet with them and sit down and negotiate. But we're not interested in buying the building and somebody more for anything, but we're all in trouble here, and I'm an owner of 3 units. My wife has 1, I have 2. So I think we need to sit down, get some things together. I need a signed letter of intent, and then we can move forward and do things very quickly. I think I'm your leading candidate. And the things you're talking about now, we can all get straightened out. Court cases, back fees. I got my first electric bill this month was $53. It's usually 11. The cost of winterizing is excelling. I think we need to move forward. And I think we need to get some things done. I'm willing to participate. Wasn't real happy about everything, but you know, it's a business deal. My eyes are still in. Would tell you, like to, and how can we get the deal? I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the deal done. That's the and you know, let's move forward. I'm going to send you documents tomorrow, and let's look forward to closing the deal. We'd like to purchase the building and the property and close it as quickly as possible. Some of the obstacles are the city of Cincinnati, the 6 people, 7 people that won't sign. Let's deal with that and let's move forward. It's best for all of us. My wife has a condo there. I have friends there. I would like to bring the building back to where it was prior to all of this. I think we can do it. Does anybody have any questions of me on what I would do to pursue this?
Well, Mike, we have a hand up for Kate Nolan. I think she wants to speak. If people have questions of Mike, they should probably put it in the chat room. And if we get through with all the other owners, we
Yeah,
can
let's
go
keep
back
the
to
meeting
you.
short and quick, but I'd be willing to answer any questions or meet at the building this week. I'd rather meet with people in person rather than on this Zoom thing, but time is of the essence. My investors are still very interested, and I think we can work out things to everybody's satisfaction. We have now offered what we've met our offer, and we can close. So I would urge you to follow the steps and go forward from here.
All right, thank you, Mike. Kate, you're unmuted.
Yes, thank you. I'm assuming that the people that have not yet consented are the ones who have filed the lawsuits. And you know, we've got to address the lawsuits because this is holding us up as well. And that's all. I don't know if you can.
I'll address it somewhat in my report.
Okay, fine.
You know.
Okay, thanks. Mhm.
Marion?
Yes, Mike, you said there for,
I'm sorry,
Marion,
that
are
must
you?
have been me.
I did
Oh.
on.
My
Okay,
apologies,
can you
that
hear me
was me.
now? Okay. Mike, you said that there are 2 obstacles for you that certainly for anyone, the 5 people or whoever have not signed, but you mentioned the city. And what about the city is the issue? And that certainly could be as in unlikely a way to influence to bring them around to your side. So what do you have in mind there?
Let me just say, and then we can unmute Mike, which is that I think that was one of the factors that Jordan had said between the original 10 bids that we had and the last and final offers that all went down that we reported at previous board meetings, which were that they all were in communication, or the last and final 3 buyers with the city. And basically what we reported was that the city clearly wanted to implement a larger percentage of the original plan than the buyers had hoped, and therefore they were decreasing their fees, their buying offer. So I don't think we've heard particular items that Art is concerned with, but I believe that's the general scene. If we could unmute Mike, no other hands being up. Do you want to add anything to
Can you
Aaron's
unmute
question?
yourself, Mike?
You unmute, Mike?
Yeah, there you
You're unmuted.
Yeah, you're good.
go. Sorry, man. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, you work to simulate project work for us.
Mike, you may want to turn off the video because reception is not that good.
Turn off the video. Don't know how to do that.
Okay, it sounds good right now. Maybe you okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, we got to work with the city. We got to work with you. We need to bring this project to fruition, and we can do all that. We can do it within the next 7 to 10 days. I will produce paperwork that'll do that. And we need to work together, but at the end of the day, we need the city to allow us to do some things. We need the board, we need the 5 signatures. I need to know that we can invest in this. And I think that, unfortunately, it'd been nice a couple months ago, but it's water under the bridge. Talked to John today. I think we have a verbal agreement with the board or some people. We offer 13.5 million. We can close this faster than anybody else. And I think this is the best chance for me. I've got my family involved in this. I've offered to clean this up and then get on with things. But if somebody would like to sit down in the next couple days, I think we can. And we're very interested in the property, and we'd like to bring this building back to the recognition it deserves. We do have the cooperation of the city. We have council members, which they are what they are, but Tracy on the board brings up a good one. You can be a subdivision, and right now you can't build the bill without the signature. So what I'm willing to do is meet with these people and sit down and sell the building.
Mike, there's a question in the chat that I think what Marion had asked. What specifically do you want to ask the city to allow you to do or not to do?
Well, I'd like the city to allow us to keep the grandfathering in order, dismiss the vacate order, allow people to move in the places that are available to move in. And I'm really only interested in having employees move in so they can begin work. Brought out the the vacate order been dropped, and cooperating with the city. We are also looking for some economic funds to help the city. We are looking to promote the building and the July celebration of the river, offer shuttles back and forth, start trying to sell the building, try to sell condos, apartments, market the building. We have a feasibility study already done. We wanted to do this earlier, but there's a big celebration in July, and we hope to be able to do that. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, we need everybody to sign to sell. And if we don't, we got to figure out what we can do. So I'd like to sit down with those individuals or anybody else that's interested in the next couple days and meet with them in small groups, because large groups hasn't panned out for us so much, guys. I've been to meetings, and I think the only way we can accomplish this is if we all put our heads together, be reasonable, don't scream and shout. But right now we're in a position where we need to move forward, and I will help you move forward. And there's people there that I want to help. And I think it's a good opportunity for the companies that I have involved. I have architects, engineers, I have attorneys, I have everything we need to move forward. Please allow me to take the tools to move forward rather than the people that were there last. I've learned a lot in the last 3-4 months, and I think I'm your best bet out, and I will hold true, and I have good intentions for the building. So please work with me. I put my hand out. I will meet with people individually, one-on-one, but I can't meet with 180 people in 1 hour. So please get a hold of your board, John, or whoever's in charge of stuff. I'm working now, and I need some help.
All right, thank
But
you,
I
Mike.
think I think we
we
can
have
do
other
this.
hands up. If we could move on to Jan, your question?
John, Mike said that, I think that he came to some kind of agreement with you. Was that your understanding?
We had a discussion. We agreed about that he was going to send a letter of intent that would have certain wording in it. I wouldn't call it a final agreement.
Yeah.
So we have to see, let's see what the details are.
Great.
We've
I agree.
we've agreed on steps moving forward.
Right, not that
Yeah.
the board approved anything, just
Yeah.
steps to move
No,
forward.
the board did not approve anything with a verbal agreement. It's been a short time. It's been 48 hours. I called my guys that were providing the financing and my team as late as 3:30. I called today to see what was going on, to offer my service and see what's going on. John said it sounded like a good idea. Let's present it to him and go forward. Nothing else has been agreed upon. Tomorrow we'll move on and we'll get some paperwork. We're very interested in sitting down and coming to an agreement, but I think for all of us, we need to get an agreement. That's what I think.
Okay,
I
Mike,
misspoke about it.
Mike, so I can move on. There are questions in the chat about specifics with Art Dolberg, that at this point, the vacate order is really much more the fire department than it is Art Dolberg. And the question of grandfathering, I think we've had communications about that has never been on the table with Art, we had asked for that in the past, and that was not possible. But are there other questions from the board members or from the owners?
Tracy had her hand up.
With
Tracy.
John, with dovetailing right with what you just said, there were a few questions that are all about the same. So owners, forgive me for lumping these together. But Mike, if you cannot get these grandfathered ideas past the city, first of all, what are the grandfathering ideas? Somebody asked, is it sprinklers or what? But at any rate, if you can't get those past the city, is that a deal breaker?
It could be, but I've talked to them, and the sprinklers we've already agreed to do everything. The only grandfathering issue is everybody being out of the building. I'm very confident that we can get this and get it taken care of, but it's going to be part of our offer, because the one of the situations is it could be a $4 or $5 million problem. If the building sits vacant for 2 or 3 years, it will ruin the value of the building. It will affect financing and the bank and everything else, but I'm extremely confident that Art Dollenberg will follow, because he doesn't want to see an empty building, nor does the city. And we've already talked to the economic people. But if we can get an LOI signed and get moving, I believe we can take care of the vacancy problem, because it's been within 12 months. I'm
Okay,
extremely confident.
Mike, we have two other board members. Tracy?
There was a question, I think Barb may ask the same question, but about the insurance money. The insurance money that we have is not in play here. The insurance money that we receive is totally different than this potential offer that we're looking at. So I just want to make that clear, that the insurance money is something that the Hammond North owns and is not a part of any of these deal conversations.
No, we have nothing. This is a straight offer to buy them straight. We don't care what you've done with the insurance company. That ship has sailed.
All right, Tom,
it's
you asked a
period.
question?
Yep. Mike, it's good that you've talked with Art Dahlberg, but have you also had discussions with IBI on the building?
Yeah, I've got their paperwork. IBI is an inspection company. They do private inspections. Not a problem. Art Dallenberg in the city of Cincinnati has hired them to inspect. We will meet all their qualifications. We know that we got to update the elevators. We know we got to update electric. We know you got to update all kinds of things. We accept these issues. I think there's a reason somebody else pulled out. We are willing to buy the building as is. We know what needs to be done to this building. I've known this building for 20 years. It's a valuable building. But no, the answer to your question is no, IBI is just an inspection company.
They're a very,
You do,
very important electrical inspection company. They can actually, they can force changes that we may not want to do.
Well, Tom,
okay, so you,
But I just
So you
say, I
have a-
think they need to be brought on board. I really do.
we forwarded IBI's requirements to Mike. He
Okay,
is aware of what
and I've
IBI.
met,
okay.
and they're just an inspection company, and we will meet those standards. And they're right. You need GFIs in the bathroom. You need this, you need that. We don't have a problem with that. But what you do is you have a concerted conversation, and IBI is not in charge of what they make you do. They just do inspections. The OBVC, Ohio, makes you do a lot of things that this building is not into. We're willing to do that. This building has value. We realize that, and we're willing to move forward. IBI is just an inspection company. We work
Mike.
closely with them. We're working with them all over town.
Mike, what you said is true. IBI is an inspection bureau. That's what their inspection bureau incorporated. But the city of Cincinnati never doesn't take their recommendations. So anything that they call out, Art Dahlberger is going to say you have to do.
And we're willing to do that.
Detail we should be going into in this board meeting?
It's a lot of detail.
I was gonna say, that's why my hand was up.
Okay, well, anyway.
Can we just, 1 second, can we just, have you send required documents that we have been requesting and then go through all the due diligence after the letter of intent and, we can have a deeper conversation so we can get to other things we need to talk about on the board. We can go on and on forever with this. So as long as all the requirements and are met and all the paperwork that we need, then we can, potentially move forward. And I think we should continue with the board meeting.
Yeah, we need to go back to 40,000 feet.
Thank you, Tracy.
Randy?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest the same thing. Mike has said that he would be happy to meet with anyone who has questions, and maybe we should take him up on that and move on.
Yeah, the detail needs
I'll
to go.
start with me. Are there any other chat comments?
There's a question.
Not concerning Mike, but
well, please, we can move on.
We've got an agenda.
yeah, it says. Well, this
I
probably will go
understand, but in
with
these circumstances,
Jan.
I want to
Yeah,
know what
go
chat
ahead.
questions we can answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I know notice there was one from Barbara who had her hand up before. Is it possible for people to move back in the current condition? Everything I've heard from the fire department, which Art echoes, fire department says in the current condition, we can not live there, which is why they asked everybody to be out. So everybody had to move out by August 8th. That was the date that they agreed to.
Mary Brosmer has her hand raised.
Hi, thank you. Just a quick question. My memory of a discussion with Mike before, of course, it was many months ago, but there was an expectation that many of us would move back and therefore be a source of income rather quickly. And I wonder if that's still something that is in place, which is to say that there's an expectation that we will come back and buy our condos back. I wonder where we are with that. Thank you.
I'll unmute Mike if he wants to answer. And Mike, please just concentrate on what Mary Pierce's question was about moving back in. Is that part of your plan?
Can you unmute again, Mike?
And again, people, please raise your electronic hand. It makes it a lot easier for me to know who has questions. We're having trouble unmuting Mike.
Where'd he go?
I don't know. Are there other questions in the chat then?
I lost everything now.
I think in general, we've answered most of them.
Okay. All right, then no other questions. Let's move on to a motion, Randy, about the pertaining to what we had said before about 100% of the owners signing.
Okay. Yeah. We had made the offer that if 100% of the owners signed, we would reduce or eliminate HOA fees until the date of the closing with Venture, or when the date when the deal fell through. Well, it's fallen through. So I move we rescind that motion that we made a couple of meetings ago to eliminate the fees if we got 100% of owners to sign.
Second,
And Tim seconds it. Any discussion from the board members?
The only discussion I have is, could you explain why it has to be rescinded? I agree with it, but the reasoning behind it.
Well, it would be that, first of all, no one took us up on the deal. We don't have any fewer people outstanding on the signatures that we did then. And secondly, the motion was to do this until the closing with Venture, and or until a deal fell through. And well, it fell through. So it's sort of a nonsense motion at this point.
Okay.
and just to add on to that, part of the reason was the closing had parameters associated with it. There were a certain number of days for due diligence and contract closing and all that other stuff. So it had a finite amount of time associated with it. We no longer have a finite amount of time associated with where we are.
Let me just add that there were two other reasons. One, we heard from legal advice that there are restrictions on spending the insurance money for the operating expenses. In particular, there are a number of mortgages that a number of owners have, and spending our money on owners and not the mortgage companies could get us in trouble. So there are many reasons why I think we should rescind it. Any other discussion?
No, just that I think there could be potential conversations that we have to reevaluate some of this. We know that owners are struggling to pay their HOA fees. So we're continuing to reevaluate what we can do in the meantime. So more to come on, if there's something that's viable to help offset some of this disastrous, financial situation for all of us.
Any other board member comments? John's raised his hand. Randy, can you unmute him? And John, I assume you're going to talk to this motion.
Well, I mean, this motion started, whether you rescind it or not, it doesn't amount to hill beans because you don't have the 6 signatures and you're not going, but I can understand why you're wanting to do it for legal purposes. The point is, Tracy, I admire what you're saying. I hope you follow through. You have to cut dues somehow. That's the thing. If we want this building to survive, you have to cut, or people are going to quit paying and we're going to be in the deep crap. I'll just say it. I wanted to say another word, but wasn't appropriate on here. But we're going to be there. I mean, people can't afford it long term. And there's ways to do this. There's interest, there's budget cuts. And I challenge you to work with the finance committee and do it as soon as possible so we can survive. That's it.
All right.
John,
Thank you.
John, I will say the finance committee meets every single month. Our meeting for December is actually this Friday, where we reevaluate all of the expenses and what we have in budget. And we have come through on all of the budget reductions that we said we're going to do for the 2025-2026 plan. So now it's time for us to go back and see if there are other opportunities, which is really going to detail like some other things that we can cut and not actually, yeah, and continue to actually operate the building. So we've done what we said we're going to do for 2025 so far, and we'll reevaluate what that looks like. We're meeting on Friday to have that discussion.
I want to I want to support Tracy, what she's saying. The thing that's the great unknown is we didn't know exactly what it was going to take to run the building with nobody in it. So we just need to continue to refine those expenses, continue to cut where we can. We wanted to have a budget that covered everything. We didn't want to lowball the budget. We wanted to make sure that the budget was sufficient to take care of the building. And as we go through the fact that now the building is empty, and now we're having to winterize and maintain the building through the winter months, more and more things will become clear in terms of what it's going to take to run the building. So we went in trying to make sure that we had everything covered, not to lowball things, not to give people an optimistic picture of what it's going to take, and now we can refine that as we go.
I will say, thanks, Tim, and I will say it would help if we didn't have legal expenses and partition expenses and lawsuit expenses. So that would help the budget if we did not have those. And to Tim's point, there is winterization that's happening as well, and other things. So we'll take a close look at that and see what we can do.
There was a question. There was a question in the chat early on about what our expenses with Finney are, and Tracy and Greg would have to go through and accumulate what those expenses are. I don't know what they are. I don't know anybody. I don't know that anybody knows exactly what they are without going back and examining the invoices. But suffice it to say, 75% or so of all the Finney invoices are petition agreement, petition action.
Okay, I'm gonna call Carolyn for her question, and then hope again, Carolyn, I said to John, it's on this motion. The question of the budget is an important question, but it's not exactly what's on the floor right now. This is a motion to rescind the offer we had made before. Carolyn?
John, this is Jim.
Oh, Jim.
I'd like to make a couple comments here. And
as long as it's on the motion, feel free.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'd like to come back when you're done there to talk about the potential offers.
Okay, well, let's vote on the motion.
I call the question.
Yeah, Randy's calling the question, then we'll come back to you, Jim. All right, the motion's been called. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Okay, thank you. Jim, since you had your hand up, you make your points, and then we'll move on with the agenda.
Okay, first of all, I want to state that I've had some experience with these deals. 3 quick ones, just so you're aware. I was the one that discovered that we were in trouble with the Fountain Square West contract, which led to that deal going down. I represented a foreign developer of a $200+ million development in downtown, and drawing up the contracts, the city kept saying, we're with you, but we have to do the drawing up. And that eventually led to the developer saying, we're not going to have anything to do with this. And on the other side, George Stewart once said, who developed the Mount Adams buildings, or that nobody had gotten more out of him than I did at the time. Now, if this deal that you're talking about with Mike comes forward, I've heard that he could bring a offer in tomorrow. And I would presume that that offer would include earnest money and a date for a final closing and for a clean deal, not one that's tied up with any side negotiations with current owners. And he said he's familiar with the building. I presume that he should be able to do a due diligence pretty quickly. And I would suggest that we should look at this as a matter of extreme urgency. And John, you can verify, I told you a few months ago that I would anticipate that the venture deal would go down. So yeah, that's my background. Those are my comments at the time. And hopefully you deal with some urgency, and that if you have potential developers, you hold their nose to the ground.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to move the agenda then. Next item, last item on the agenda we had was the consent to sell committee. Jan?
Thanks, John. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
We are still at 6. There's no indication that any of those 6 people are changing their minds to sign soon. We don't know, as has been said earlier in the meeting, we don't know whether the incomplete signatures impacted Venture's decision to withdraw, but we do know it could not have helped. A few owners gave conditions under which they would sign. We have done our very best to provide information that has been asked. And there have been a lot of different things that people have asked. And John in particular has spent a lot of time trying to satisfy those requests. As Tim indicated, the situation is a little different now. We were pulling together information, about the things that would have to happen before the closing. That was all specific to the venture deal. So that we don't have that anymore because we don't have a specific deal. There are some maybe general things that would apply, but not at all everything. So for the 2 owners in particular that were asking for that, I think this might be the time to reconsider that request. With Venture's withdrawal, it is more complicated. We don't have the information that was dependent upon this offer. The signatures are still needed, so here we are. We do know that refusing to sign makes us less desirable to a buyer. We know that. We get nothing without the signatures. So people who say, I will not sign until I get this, but now we get nothing without the signatures. With each passing day of waiting for the signatures, we get less, you will get less for your unit. The situation is more difficult. The 6 owners, as well as people who are talking about rescinding their votes to sell, and there were a couple of those, not many, are making it harder for every one of us to get the money for our units. Every one of us. Whenever anybody says, I'm going to rescind my vote, that's not going to get us more money. That is not going to help. The date to sign has become now, as we have to sign a contract with a different buyer. I have been fairly patient, to some people's frustration, I realize. But thinking, well, we have until the end of the due diligence before it's really critical to have all the signatures. That is no longer the case. We need to close it up. As Tracy said, we need to clean it up and have this done. So that's a given with any buyer we're talking to. We have the signatures to sell. Every day you do not sign, if there's anybody on this call who's in that category, you personally are costing your neighbors precious money. And that's just the reality of it, in my opinion.
Thank you, Jan. Are there any board questions of Jan's report? Tim?
I just want to reiterate what Jan is saying. Like I said earlier in the call, Jordan did not specifically say that these last 6 owners was an issue, but it was implied. And we need to do anything that we can to make this the cleanest deal that we can make it, because it's already messy. It's messy in a lot of ways. And this is one of the ways that we can solve the messiness, is to get 180 signatures. So I just, I don't know what else, I don't know what else to say.
Randy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, there are a few comments now, and we've always been receiving comments wanting to know the names of these owners. To me, it's really getting close to time to divulge those names. I don't know what good it does. It's a little like Hester Prynne having to wear her Scarlet A, I guess. Is that a public embarrassment? Maybe I don't know what good it does to divulge these names, but I think people do have a right to know who it is that is costing them all of this money.
Could I respond to that?
Yeah, Jan?
So I think that needs to be a board decision, and we could add it to our agenda if you like. There's been a lot of pressure to do that. And it was really hard for me not tonight to say, so-and-so, come on, so-and-so, come on. I mean, it's really hard. There are only 6 people, but they know who they are. And so.
Let me just make one comment, which is that the reason we got to where we are was following a strategy that did not release the names. If we'd released the names when we were at 160, I don't think we would have been at 154. The question is the objective. The objective is to get their signatures. If we do moves that do not increase, and we think there's good reason to increase the likelihood that we get that signatures, I'm inclined not to do it. But also, I should say, people can assume all kinds of things. I've had conversations with owners. People make assumptions, and we know what an assumption means. It's often erroneous. Tim?
I'm going to do something very controversial here. What I would like, there are a certain number of people who have been calling for the release of these names for a while. What I would like to know is, when we release these names, what are you going to do? I want to know what the repercussions are of releasing these names.
Question.
Any other comments from the board? We have another hand up from an owner. Michelle.
Oh, sorry. Is it okay for me to go?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
okay.
unmuted.
So I agree with Tim. Like, again, we've gotten a lot of owners who said, release the names. We should know, it's part of our business too. They're costing us money. They're costing all of us money. To his point, for those who are in the chat saying release the names, like what is the benefit? Can someone raise their hand or come off mute and say, if we do this, what good is going to come out of this? Like, to browbeat someone or to threaten or to do certain things will do nothing but have those owners dig their heels in. So please help us understand, how can you contribute to a positive outcome?
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, Michelle.
Yeah, hi. I want to just say that I agree with Tim and Tracy completely. One of the saddest things that happened to our community was the amazing amount of acrimony and anger that were directed at our neighbors from other neighbors. It's the thing that makes me saddest about the whole thing. There are people who lived in that building for 20, 30, 40 years who no longer talk to each other because of what the anger and the rage that people had about this. I personally feel that there are two things that need to happen. There is nothing anybody can say to the people who haven't voted that is going to change their minds at this point. We can only appeal to them to say that when we all made the choice to live in a community like the Hammond North, we knew we were going to be interdependent on each other. So I'll appeal to their better angels and ask them to please consider signing as soon as possible, because many, many people in our community are suffering. I also want to appeal to the people who continue to pursue legal action against their neighbors. One of the things that has become completely evident to me is that this board is validating over and over and over everything the previous board was telling us about the cost of the building, what the city was requiring. And all these things that people said that board was lying, they were this, they were that. This is all water under the bridge, and none of us have a time machine to go back and do things differently. So I, again, want to ask the people who are suing, because to me, the people who continue to want to sue are using the leverage of my suffering and the suffering of our community to get a better outcome for themselves. And that to me is an awful, awful feeling to think that that's happening. So I appeal to them and beg them to drop the lawsuit, walk away. It will free us up. I cannot express to you what an awful cloud of uncertainty that these ongoing lawsuits represent. It is a layer of awfulness on a shit sandwich, to be honest with you. So please, on behalf of everyone, people are desperate to get out of this situation financially, psychologically, emotionally. We need to move on. I want to thank this board for the incredible amount of work that you're doing in this incredibly difficult time. And I think that I hope that in the next 3 months, we can move forward and sell this building, because otherwise we are in this intractable limbo, probably for another year to a year and a half. And frankly, I don't know if I can take it emotionally. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Jan?
There's one thing I need to clarify that someone else said earlier. It is not primarily people who are suing us who are the people remaining to sign. There are 6 owners. There are not 6 litigants. There are 2, actually. And
Thank
it
you,
may
Jan.
not be who you think.
John Webb?
So here's what I would say. It's about the release of names. We keep on talking about feelings. This is a business. We're shareholders in this business. We have a right to know. And I mean, there's nothing preventing that. But that being said, Tim, you asked, what can we do? Well, y'all wouldn't release the names. And Tracy made the appeal saying, oh, we need to get these people to sign. But if we don't know who they are, how can we help? And for example, somebody let me know about a name of somebody who wasn't signing. And they knew I had a relationship with that person. I went and I talked to them on the phone. I then followed up with a text, because there were several misunderstandings with that. Still didn't get them to sign, but they were grateful for that. That's what we need to be doing. That's what it's for, is not to scold people, but to build those relations, to talk to those people we have relationships with, and to try to convince them and understand. I mean, we talk about the 6 on here all day long. How do we know that they're on here or not on there? How do we know how to reach them? How do we do that? That's why it's important that we release the names, because there are people here that have relationships that you all as a board may not know, but other people do.
Jan has done an amazing job at specifically addressing people. John, what you did, I appreciate. The problem is when you turn loose those names to all the owners, not everybody is going to be respectful as you are and do the right thing like you did. And like I said, I appreciate the fact that you did the right thing. The problem is when we throw those names out there, there's going to be there's going to be a lot of people who are totally aggravated and pissed about where we are. And I don't know how to control their behavior. And we don't have a good way to control their behavior. So, like I said, I appreciate the fact, and that's what Jan has been doing. Jan has been trying to find weaknesses. I'll just say it that way. She's been trying to find weaknesses in the arguments of these people who she specific, and she knows who they are, and she knows who's on the calls, and she knows who's hearing things and who isn't hearing things. So my only problem is when we throw those names out there to the public, when we throw those names out there to 180 people, I don't know how everybody's going to react to that. Some of them are going to react the right way, like you did, but there's going to be some of them who are going to not, we see a lot of, we get a lot of stuff back as the board, scurrilous comments, scurrilous opinions. And my concern is that when we throw those names out there to 180 people, a few of them are going to do the right thing like you did, and a few or more are going to treat it the wrong way. So that's how I've been thinking about this. And I don't know if the rest of the board thinks about it that way, but that's how I've been thinking about it. Is I can't throw these people to the lions because I don't know how everybody's going to react.
And
Jan?
I also wanted to mention that the committee, which consists of, I'm not going to start naming the names because I'll forget somebody, but we have discussed this every meeting. And we don't take this lightly. I mean, we discuss things in detail, and we have a good committee, and it looks at all angles. And we have not given up. The last 6 are particularly intractable, but there are probably 3 of them who I think I'm thinking will still sign voluntarily. So it's,
Michelle.
I just want to say, it's like people don't have a memory of how awful people were being to each other in this building. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I mean, if you get in a time machine and you go back 2 years, people are being awful to each other in this building. If you don't think they were, and you're still on Facebook, read some of the crap that people were writing, the harassment, the intimidation, the threats. I'm going to sue you. I think I appreciate so much that what you're saying, Tim, is this whole idea that everybody's just going to look out for the best of each other. People were awful to each other in this building. I'm sorry. And that to me is one of the worst things that could have happened to our community. So right now, and it also infers that there are groups of people who don't know who hasn't signed. Many of us know in the group of people we have knowledge of who's not signing. And that's okay because, look, I didn't want people to sue. I thought it was a bad idea. They've got the right to do that. And if you're going to just hone in on these 6 people and say, not hold the people, the Croskeries, the Porter et al., all those people, everybody's got to decide, are we a community or aren't we? Do you sign or don't you? I personally feel if the lawsuits were dropped, that would go a long way for some people. And that's my opinion. But to naively say that if we put these names out there, everybody's going to be civil and helpful and really just try to have discourse, it's just a load of hooey. So thank you, Jan, and thank you, Tim and Tracy, because at the end of the day, you're doing the extremely hard work of being patient and being persuasive in a compassionate and helpful way. So thank you.
So Randy, can you unmute Ginger?
Yeah.
Hi.
Sure.
I'm going to propose something that I've proposed before in the committee, and it didn't go anywhere in the committee, but perhaps enough owners might urge the board to consider what I'm proposing. And that is, I think there's no reason why the board shouldn't collectively, as a board, write a letter signed by every board member, not typed, signed, inviting or requesting a meeting with these individuals in person and asking them to appear in person so that every answer can be made. And we know that some of that is a delaying tactic on the part of some, and they don't really need other answers. But it's something to offer and to say it puts the force of the board, the heft of the board in front of somebody. Someone might respond to that. Not an offensive letter, but an invitation requesting and asking them to please join us on this day or time. If this is inconvenient, please call us right away and we'll set a time that's convenient for you to meet with us so that we can give you all of the details as to why this is such an imperative to discuss.
Thank you. So if there are no other questions, comments, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Chris, motion to adjourn. Tim seconds it. All those in favor? Okay, it passes.
John,
Thank-
yes. Make sure you get the chat.
Chat question?
Get the chat. Save the chat.
Yes, I'll do
Copy
that.
the chat he's saying.
Sorry. Yes, I got that. Okay, hold off on adjourning then.
Yeah, John, there's some owners with hands up. I don't know.
We have a motion to adjourn.
We voted on it. With all due respect, we're going to meet again a week from today. Okay, so I got the chat, so we can adjourn.